I would ask to see some finished products if I was interviewing a shop to repair my vehicle.
Yep.
So do you have anything that's done? Like if you come here, we generally have 2 or 3 cars on our showroom floor.
Sure.
And you can walk around them and see if you can figure out what we did. Doubt whether you can.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Airing of Grievances. I'm Eric Reamer, that's Robert Grieve, and we are ever so thankful that you are here today. If this is your first time visiting the channel, we encourage you to click the thumbs up button. That allows YouTube to know that this is a good thing to share with other people. And if you're one of our regulars, we do appreciate you so much, and we ask you, if you would please, if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button and the notify bell. That will also let YouTube know that this is something that you want to be notified about. And of course, if it's Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. in the Mountain Standard Time, it's time for the Airing of Grievances. Hey Rob,
here we are.
Happy Saturday to you, man.
To you, happy Saturday to you. My dear friends,
Always.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate you.
So Rob, man, there's probably many episodes ago, you made mention of something that caught my attention, and that has kind of moved its way through the ranks of national news. You're a trendsetter.
Yeah.
And here we are. The topic had to do with paint and how paint can sometimes interfere with the advanced driver assist systems.
It's true.
And so here in Repair Driven News, by the way,
Dave.
shout out to Dave LaChance and his crew over there doing a great job. He wrote an article a little while ago about how paint technology, is changing the game.
The paint on your car.
Yeah. Who would have known?
The paint on your car. You know, it's hard enough to get colors to match to begin with. And the people that we have and many other shops have, you know, their job is so difficult, and they're an artist, being able to get the colors to match just right.
Right.
And at the same time, there's a ton of science in it for application, and the chemistry of how, you know, what chemicals you're using.
Yeah, you're not
what
just
temperature is, you know, ambient temperature. What is it outside?
Right. You're not just going to Hobby Lobby and picking up a can of spray paint and doing this thing, right?
No. I mean, there's, you know, if you're in Colorado, it's different than painting in New Jersey, simply
Really?
because of humidity. Because most of what we're painting today is waterborne products on the base coat and primers and stuff. Humidity affects drying of those.
Sure.
We're a lot drier here than it is on the East Coast. So, I mean, the paint manufacturers have to take all these things into consideration, and the painter has to know, you know what, it's going to be 100 degrees today. I need to use this hardener and this clear, or, you know, mix and match all these different things.
Even the lights have something to do with
absolutely
how it affects the paint.
Yep.
Okay.
So, you know, they're artists, coupled with science and chemistry, and, you know, they've never really been, I don't want to say thought of, but the idea of looking up OEM procedures has never been really present in the paint department the way it is today.
Sure.
And they make a couple of great points in this article about it.
Okay.
But let's just go with this. With the ever-expanding adoption of radar, LiDAR, and other advanced driver assist systems technologies, paint have become a functional part of the vehicle. It's not just aesthetics anymore.
No, it has to do with the operation of the car.
It can help it operate or hurt it.
All right.
And, you know, researching and following OEM procedures to apply the right materials in the right way is becoming just as important as following the manufacturer's guidance for welding or replacing parts.
I don't think the
Who would've thunk?
average driver ever even lets that enter their mind. And yet, if your repairer is on the ball, they will know these things, they will check the OEM procedures, and they will paint accordingly.
Yeah, and again, just to go back to just normal everyday business.
Yeah.
Not like today. The car goes over to the paint department, we mix up the paint, and we paint the car.
Right.
Today, with the supply chain issues, we may not even have some of the toners that are needed, and some of the toners, those are what goes into make the paint, and make the color. They're outrageously expensive just for the toner, and you may only use this tiny little bit, but you've got to buy this much to get this tiny little bit,
right?
And this much, maybe $1,000, so that you can get this much, and that's if you can get it. We have an amazing paint manufacturer that we deal with, PPG, and our suppliers of the product, Single Source, NCS. They run all over different states getting us product.
Sure.
Because we use different products than most every other body shop. I mean, we use the most expensive products, clears, and there's some cars that have chip-resistant clear. Well, if your car from the factory has chip-resistant clear, then we're going to be putting ceramic clear back on your car.
There you go.
That costs a whole lot more money, and that's just the clear.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great things inside here. So they have to figure out how. This is the paint manufacturers, because the paint manufacturers train us on how to use their product. And if you went to a different paint manufacturer, they're going to have different methods because of how they chemically make their product.
All right.
So they have to figure out how radar transmission moves through material. So when you have a blind spot monitor, two of them in the rear of your car looking through the bumper, they have to take all that into consideration when they're coming up with the actual colors that can go over that. There are some bumpers out there that the OEM says if it's this color, you have to replace the bumper. You can't repaint it. And some of the paint manufacturers are having a little heartburn because their metallics that they're using
interfere with
are
the electronics.
interfering with the radars and sending different signals. And this article is just full of really good stuff.
Sure.
In some cases, especially with some translucent colors, we may be looking to reflect off the primer behind the color rather than the color of the vehicle. So what they're saying here is many shops will have gray primer.
Sure.
Or maybe they'll have a white primer, or maybe they'll have a black primer.
Right.
But in today's cars, you actually have to take one of these color primers we're talking about, primer sealer,
right, before you get to the color,
and tint the primer before you put the color on top of the primer. And all these things get brought into the equation of whether some of these ADAS features are going to work consistently or not.
ADAS is the advanced driver assist features that he's talking about.
Yeah, so I mean it's primers, it's clears, it's how many builds. I mean, you have vehicles getting painted in manufacturing at the plants, and they're electrostatically applied. Okay, and by robots.
Yes.
So they're thin coats, and pluses and minuses of electricity is making this stuff stick.
Okay.
We don't have that in our world. We have a guy or a gal in a spray booth,
right?
Kind of trying to replicate what the factory did.
Sure.
And if the factory's putting on really itsy-bitsy thin coats, like maybe several really thin coats rather than, the way that we do it in the aftermarket, if you will,
yes,
because we're not OEM, it can create, and at the same time, you want the color to match. There's so much going into it. There used to be the phrase that, paint never killed anybody. Today, that's starting to go away a little bit.
In fact, it was that phrase that we used in the video so long ago that sparked my interest in this article.
Yeah, there's just so much that goes into this, and we used to be worried about the structural integrity of the vehicle as we're repairing it.
Right.
And we're going to not only the structural, but now we're doing the electronic side of things.
Right.
To make sure that the angles are perfect, and things can be calibrated and initialized.
Right.
Now it's paint, that has to be taken into consideration. And like I said, you need to look up the OEM procedures for some of these things, simply because there's big caution signs. If it's this color, then it may require some different thinking on if it's repairable, and if so, where can the repair be? What is the thickness of the repair? Because every time you put a coat of paint on, or primer, or anything else, that's a mil thickness, which is adding more distance that the radar has to look through. There's a bunch going into it. And from the consumer standpoint, you really want to be aware.
Yeah. When you came back from the CIC conference and the SCRS gathering, it was you said something. You said, "I'm starting to wonder." This some of this stuff is so overwhelming. It's
getting so complex,
right?
And you have to just make sure everything fits together just like this, and you can't take shortcuts anymore.
You said you were starting to wonder if maybe it's time to start thinking about the end game in a couple of 5-10 years, handing it over to your son. I'm glad that you're here today because you care about this stuff. You actually think about this stuff and talk to your
We think about it, we
people,
execute.
right?
Yeah.
And it's really important. Just, I guess, as kind of a wrap up to this, I want you to think about where you take your car really matters. And if they don't care about these issues, if they say all of that's just the OEM's way to charge you more and stick it to the man, buyer beware, because this isn't the technology of tomorrow. It's here.
I'm not making the news, I'm reporting it.
That's it.
This is what the OEMs, and there's a lot of OEMs. I mean, you got the paint manufacturers that are supplying the OEMs, but they're also supplying what we'd be considered the aftermarket, because
that's
we're
the
not
second
an
time
OEM.
you've used the word aftermarket.
Yeah, I generally don't like to use it, but
that makes me a little uncomfortable.
Yeah,
but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, we're not an OEM, so you're either an OEM or you're part of the aftermarket. So that would be us. As painful as it is to say that, but I mean, we send our people to all sorts of training.
Yeah.
Not only from the paint manufacturer side, and they're all certified in that, and they have to go in and prove that they understand all these concepts, but then the OEM has their own, or the manufacturer, like Lexus. We're Lexus authorized, so I have to send my people to Texas or New Jersey or Florida to one of their training centers, and they've got to prove that they can do it there too, to the people from Lexus, so that they can, keep us on the program. And there is so much to repairing a vehicle anymore.
Yeah.
And I, as a consumer, there's a lot of places we all drive down the street and see cars that don't match.
Sure.
I
You notice them more than most.
I like to say they're two-tone in the wrong direction, but if I would ask to see some finished products if I was interviewing a shop to repair my vehicle.
Yep.
So do you have anything that's done? Like, if you come here, we generally have 2 or 3 cars on our showroom floor. Sure. And you can walk around them and see if you can figure out what we did. Doubt whether you can, but
you're right. Well, and
but we take great pride in it.
Yeah.
And it's not just the pride. The pride is being able to execute on these things.
That's right.
And
having
look
a
and
standard.
understand it. Yeah.
Having the standard of, and here at Nylund we say, if it's not perfect, it's not leaving. That's more than just a tagline for us. That's a differentiator.
Yeah.
And you can have, if it's not perfect, it's not leaving, or you can have those other guys.
It's good enough.
Yeah.
It's
All
good
right.
enough.
Well, Rob, thanks for your time today,
Yep.
man, and I wish you the very best. Thanks for joining me on a Saturday.
I appreciate our audience. I really do. Just thank you so very, very much. I hope you have an amazing week. See you next week.